The stars were cold and silent at the edge of space. Here, where the light of distant suns barely reached, a single human warship drifted through the darkness. The HSS Resolve was not a large vessel by galactic standards. It carried only 340 crew members and enough weapons to defend itself against pirates and small threats. But it was here for a reason that had nothing to do with fighting. Captain Park Ho stood on the bridge with his hands clasped behind his back. He was a tall man with hair at his temples and calm eyes that had seen many years of service. He watched the main screen as it displayed the vast emptiness ahead. Somewhere beyond that darkness, the Dominion was preparing for war. "Captain, I am detecting movement," said Lieutenant Commander Hana from her tactical station. She was young but brilliant, and her fingers moved quickly across her console. "Multiple ships. They are gathering near the cluster." "How many?" Park asked. Checked her readings twice before answering. "Over 200 vessels, sir. Warships, carriers, and support craft. This is not a patrol. This is a full invasion fleet." The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. 200 ships against their one. The numbers were not in their favor, but Captain Park showed no fear. He simply nodded and turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel," he said. "Broadcast on all frequencies. I want them to hear this clearly." The communications officer, a young man named Wu, worked quickly. "Channel open, Captain. You are live." Park straightened his uniform and spoke in a clear, steady voice. "This is Captain Park Ho of the Earth vessel HSS Resolve. I am broadcasting to the Dominion fleet. You are currently assembling forces near territory protected by the United Earth Coalition. I am here to deliver a formal warning." He paused, letting his words travel across the void. "Any attack on human vessels, stations, or colonies will be considered an act of war. Earth will respond with proportional force. This is not a threat. This is a promise. We ask that you reconsider your current course of action. Peace is still possible. The choice is yours." He signaled for to end the transmission. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew that their words had been heard. Now they could only wait. Far across the sector, aboard the massive flagship, Fleet Admiral listened to the human transmission. He was an old warrior with scales that had turned dark blue with age. His eyes were sharp, and his claws tapped impatiently against his command throne. Around him, his officers watched with curious expressions. When the transmission ended, let out a deep, rumbling laugh. The sound echoed through the bridge, and soon his officers joined him. "One ship," said, his voice thick with amusement. "The humans send one ship to warn us. One tiny vessel against my fleet of 200. He shook his head slowly. "Either they are stupid or they are desperate, perhaps both." Commander, his second-in-command, stepped forward. He was younger than, and his scales were still bright green. "Admiral, perhaps we should consider their words. We know little about human military strength. Our intelligence is limited." Waved a clawed hand dismissively. "We know enough. Humans are a young species. They have existed among the stars for less than 3 centuries. They have perhaps 30 warships in their entire fleet." 30, he laughed again. "They are miners and traders, not warriors. This warning is a bluff designed to scare us away from their little colonies." "But Admiral—" "Enough," growled. "I have made my decision. Archive the transmission and continue with our plans. In 3 days, we will take the human mining colony at 442B. Their resources will fuel our expansion for decades. One ship will not stop us." Lowered his head in submission, but worry still showed in his eyes. He returned to his station and said nothing more. Back on the Resolve, Captain Park received no response to his warning. He had expected this. They were proud and ancient. They had ruled their sector for thousands of years. To them, humans were nothing but newcomers, barely worth noticing. "They are ignoring us," said quietly. "Their fleet is moving toward the trade routes. They will reach 442B in approximately 72 hours. Park nodded slowly. Then we have done what we came to do. The warning has been given. The choice has been made. Weapons Officer Hansung looked up from his console. Captain, should we fall back? If their fleet passes through here, we will be directly in their path. No, Park said. We stay, we watch, we record everything. Han frowned. Sir, with respect, we cannot fight 200 ships. We are not here to fight, Lieutenant. Park turned to face his crew. Earth does not start wars, but when war comes to us, we finish it. Right now, our job is to be witnesses. Let them see that we did not run. Let them see that we stood our ground. When this is over, the galaxy will know that humanity gave them every chance to choose peace. The hours passed slowly. The Resolve held its position like a stone in a river. The crew watched as the fleet grew larger on their sensors. 200 warships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with weapons designed to destroy entire cities. Admiral ordered his fleet to pass within weapons range of the human vessel. It was a show of dominance, a way to prove that the feared nothing. As his flagship swept past the Resolve, he looked at the tiny ship on his screen and smiled. Look at them, he said to his officers. They do not even try to escape, they accept their weakness. But on the Resolve there was no fear. Captain Park watched the massive fleet pass by like a river of steel. His face showed nothing. His hands remained steady. Record everything, he said softly. Every ship, every weapon, every movement, send it all to Earth. Lieutenant Commander worked quickly, her fingers flying across her console. Every detail of the fleet was captured and transmitted back to Sol's system at faster-than-light speeds. When the last ship had passed, Wu looked at his captain with confusion. Sir, what happens now? Park did not answer immediately. He watched the fleet disappear into the darkness, heading toward innocent colonists who had done nothing wrong. Finally, he spoke. Now we follow, and when they attack, Earth will know. Then they will learn something important. He turned to face his young officer. They will learn why we sent only one ship. The bridge fell silent. No one understood his words, not yet. But in the days to come they would. The entire galaxy would. The Resolve turned slowly and began following the fleet into the darkness. One small ship trailing an armada of 200. It seemed foolish. It seemed hopeless. But Captain Park knew the truth. That single ship was not a display of weakness. It was a test, and the had failed. The warning had been given. The warning had been dismissed. Now there would be consequences. The colony of 442b was a peaceful place. It sat on a rocky world with thin air and cold winds, but humans had made it their home. Domes covered the surface, filled with warm light and green plants. 50,000 people lived there, mining precious metals from the mountains and sending them back to Earth. Governor Shin Bai stood in her office, watching the morning sun rise over the distant peaks. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and streaks in her black hair. She had led this colony for 12 years, through storms and shortages and every other challenge. But nothing had prepared her for what was coming. Her communicator buzzed. She picked it up and heard the voice of her defense coordinator. Governor, we have confirmed contacts. 200 warships have entered our system. They will reach orbit in 4 hours. Shin closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her face was calm and determined. Begin evacuation procedures. Get the civilian transports ready. Women and children first, then essential personnel. Yes, Governor, but our transports are slow. We can only move about 10,000 people before they arrive. Then move 10,000. Every life we save matters. She ended the call and walked out of her office. The colony came alive with controlled panic. Sirens sounded across every dome. Families gathered their children and hurried toward the transport stations. Workers abandoned their machines and joined the crowds. Everyone knew what they were capable of. They had destroyed colonies before. In the main engineering center, Chief Engineer was running. He was a large man with oil-stained hands and a face that rarely smiled. But today, he moved faster than anyone had ever seen him move. "Get me power to the shield generators," he shouted at his team. "Every unit we have, route it to the planetary grid." His assistant, a young woman named, looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, the shields were never designed for military use. They are meant for meteor protection." "I know what they are meant for," growled. "But right now they are all we have. Get me 60% coverage and we buy our people 2 extra hours. That is 2 more transports, 2,000 more lives." Nodded and ran to her station. The engineering team worked with desperate speed, rewiring systems and pushing generators beyond their limits. Sparks flew. Alarms rang. But slowly, the planetary shield began to power up. At the colony hospital, Dr. Sora was preparing for the worst. She was a thin woman with kind eyes and steady hands. She had spent 20 years as a surgeon, and she knew what war looked like. "Clear the upper levels," she ordered her staff. "Move all patients to the underground bunkers. Set up emergency stations every 100 meters. We will need blood supplies, surgical kits, and burn treatment materials." A young nurse looked at her with fear. "Doctor, should we evacuate too?" Shook her head. "Doctors do not leave their patients. When the wounded come, we will be here." She put a gentle hand on the nurse's shoulder. "But if you want to go, I will not stop you. No one will blame you." The nurse straightened her back. "I will stay, doctor." Smiled sadly. "Then let us get to work." 4 hours passed too quickly. The civilian transports launched one after another, climbing into the sky and jumping to faster-than-light speed before they could catch them. 8,000 people escaped, but 42,000 remained. The fleet arrived like a dark cloud. 200 ships spread across the orbit of 442b, blocking out the stars. Admiral's flagship moved to the front, its weapons pointed down at the helpless colony. His communication officer opened a channel. "Humans of 442b, this is Fleet Admiral of the Dominion. You will surrender immediately. You will hand over all mining resources and equipment. You will submit to authority. You have 1 hour to comply. If you refuse, we will destroy your orbital platforms and take what we want by force." Governor Shin received the message in the main command center. Around her, her staff watched with pale faces. Some were crying. Others simply stared at their screens, too shocked to move. Shin picked up the communicator. Her hand did not shake. "This is Governor Shin Bai. The people of 442b are citizens of the United Earth Coalition. We do not surrender to invaders. We do not submit to threats. You have been warned by Earth to turn back. You ignored that warning. Now I give you one of my own." She paused, her eyes hard as stone. "If you attack this colony, you will regret it. Not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but you will regret it. Earth does not forget, Earth does not forgive, and Earth does not lose." She ended the transmission before could respond. On the flagship, Admiral stared at his screen with disbelief. Then his face twisted with anger. "Destroy their orbital platforms. Show them what happens to those who defy the Dominion." The fleet opened fire. Bright beams of energy lanced down from orbit, striking the 3 orbital stations that circled the planet. Explosions lit up the sky. Debris rained down toward the surface. But at that moment, Chief Engineer finished his work. The planetary shield flickered to life, a shimmering dome of energy that covered the main colony. The falling debris struck the shield and burned away. The colony survived. 62% coverage, shouted. "It is holding." Wiped sweat from his face. "It will not hold forever, but it will hold long enough." On the surface, the colonists watched the sky burn, but they did not give up. They went underground into the bunkers that had been built for emergencies. Governor Shin organized work teams. Doctors set up medical stations. Chief Engineer kept the shield running with tape and prayers. But they were not finished. 3 human cargo ships had tried to escape during the attack. They were slow, old vessels filled with families who had not made it to the main transports. They captured them easily, pulling them into their warships with tractor beams. Admiral ordered the prisoners to be brought before him. 117 humans, including children, were forced to kneel on the deck of his flagship. Cameras recorded everything. "Broadcast this to the planet," commanded. "Let them see what happens to those who resist." The colonists watched in horror as their friends and neighbors were displayed like trophies. Families cried out when they recognized faces. Governor Shin's hands tightened into fists, but she forced herself to stay calm. "We will get them back," she said quietly. "I promise." Far behind the fleet, the HSS Resolve watched everything. Captain Park stood on his bridge, his face carved from stone. Lieutenant Commander's voice was barely a whisper. "Captain, they are taking prisoners. They are broadcasting it to break the colonists' spirit." "I see it," Park said. "Record everything, send it all to Earth, every image, every second." Weapons Officer Han looked at his captain with desperation. "Sir, we must do something. We cannot just watch." Park turned to face him. His eyes held a fire that Han had never seen before. "We are doing something, Lieutenant. We are making sure Earth sees exactly what they have done. We are making sure there is no doubt, no question, no mercy." He walked to his command console and entered a code that only captains knew. The ship's communication array hummed with power, sending a single encrypted burst across the stars toward Sol system. The message was simple, 3 words that would change everything. Fleet condition read. Park turned back to his crew. His voice was quiet but filled with absolute certainty. They were warned. Now they will learn why Earth sends only one ship, because one ship is all we need to watch, to witness, to remember. But when Earth responds, we do not send one ship, we send all of them. The bridge crew stared at their captain. They were beginning to understand. They had made their choice. And now, across the vast distance of space, humanity was waking up. Luna Station orbited Earth's moon like a crown of steel and light. It was the heart of humanity's military command, a fortress built into rock and metal that had protected Earth for over a century. Deep inside its armored walls, Admiral Young received the message from the Resolve. Fleet condition read. She read it 3 times. Then she stood up from her desk and walked to the window. Earth hung in the darkness beyond, blue and green and beautiful. Billions of people lived there, trusting their leaders to keep them safe. Was 60 years old with silver hair cut short and a face that showed no emotion. She had commanded fleets, fought battles, and lost friends. She knew what those 3 words meant. Peace was over. War had begun. She pressed a button on her desk. Summoned the Emergency War Council, all members, immediately. Within the hour, the council had assembled. 12 of humanity's highest military commanders sat around a circular table, their faces lit by holographic displays. They watched in silence as the footage from 442 be played before them. They saw the fleet. They saw the destruction of the orbital platforms. They saw the captured prisoners kneeling before Admiral, and they saw Captain Park's original warning, delivered with dignity and ignored with contempt. When the footage ended, Admiral spoke. "They have attacked a human colony without provocation. They have killed our people and taken prisoners." Captain Park gave them a formal warning which they dismissed. The question before this council is simple. How do we respond? General Sung Min, commander of ground forces, leaned forward. "We must respond with everything we have. Anything less will invite more attacks." Admiral Nam Hoon, who commanded the outer fleet, nodded in agreement. "They believe we are weak. They think we have 30 ships. They are wrong, very wrong." Looked around the table. Does anyone disagree? No one spoke. "Then it is decided," stood and addressed the room. "Send the mobilization order to all shipyards, every vessel, every fighter, every transport. We move in 6 hours. The wanted war. They will have it." The orders went out across human space at the speed of light. In shipyards hidden among asteroid fields, engineers powered up engines that had been sleeping for years. On space stations disguised as mining platforms, crews loaded weapons and ammunition. In orbital docks around Mars and Europa and Titan, warships came to life. They had believed humanity possessed 30 warships. Their spies had reported this number with confidence, but they had only seen what humanity wanted them to see. The truth was different. Humanity had learned long ago that the galaxy was not safe. They had seen other species conquered and enslaved. They had heard stories of empires that rose and fell, and they had decided, quietly and without announcement, to prepare for the worst. 800 warships, that was the real number, built in secret, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the day when humanity would need them. On the colony world of 442b, the survivors continued to resist. Governor Shin organized sabotage teams that struck at supply lines. Chief Engineer kept the planetary shield running despite constant attacks. Doctor treated the wounded in underground hospitals lit by emergency lights. They controlled the skis, but they could not break the humans beneath them. Admiral grew frustrated. He had expected a quick victory, a simple conquest. Instead, he was fighting shadows. Every time his soldiers landed, they were ambushed. Every supply depot he established was destroyed by morning. The humans refused to surrender. "These creatures are like insects," he complained to Commander. "You crush one and 10 more appear." Hesitated before speaking. "Admiral, our scouts are reporting unusual activity in human space. Many ships are moving, more than we expected." Waved his clawed hand. "Reinforcements, no doubt. A few more pathetic vessels coming to die. It changes nothing." "With respect, Admiral, the numbers are concerning. Our agents report hundreds of ships gathering near their moon." "Impossible," snapped. "Humans do not have hundreds of ships. Your agents are wrong." Bowed his head. "As you say, Admiral." But the reports continued to come, each one larger than the last. 50 ships, 100 ships, 200 ships. The numbers kept growing until even could not ignore them. On the Resolve, Captain Park received updates from Earth. He shared them with his bridge crew, and for the first time in days, he saw hope in their eyes. "The first wave is launching," he announced. 400 vessels. They will arrive at the edge of space in 18 hours. Lieutenant Commander smiled. 400, and that is only the beginning." "Correct." Park turned to Weapons Officer Han. "Begin transmitting tactical data to the incoming fleet. Everything we have learned about formations, weapons, and weaknesses. Give them every advantage." Han's fingers flew across his console. "Transmitting now, Captain. They will know everything we know." On 442b, the colonists heard rumors of a rescue fleet. They whispered to each other in the bunkers, sharing hope like precious water. Governor Shin called her people together in the largest underground shelter. "Help is coming," she told them. "Earth has not forgotten us. Earth will never forget us. All we have to do is survive a little longer. Can you do that?" The crowd answered with a single voice, "Yes." In the colony hospital, Doctor treated a young boy who had been injured in a raid. His name was Min, and he was only 7 years old. A piece of debris had cut his arm, and he had been very brave while she stitched the wound. "Doctor," he asked quietly, "are the soldiers coming to save us?" Finished her work and looked into his eyes. "Yes, Min, they are coming, very soon." "Will they beat the bad aliens?" Smiled and gently patted his head. "Humans are very good at protecting the people they love. The bad aliens do not know this yet, but they will learn." Far above the planet, the first ships of the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They appeared at the edge of the system like stars being born, 400 points of light that grew brighter with each passing second. Admiral received the alert on his flagship. For the first time, his confidence wavered. He stared at the sensor readings, counting the enemy ships again and again. "This cannot be right," he whispered. "This cannot be right." But it was right. The humans had come, and they had not come to negotiate. Admiral's voice broadcast across all frequencies. "Fleet, this is Admiral Young of the United Earth Coalition. You have attacked our people. You have taken our citizens prisoner. You were given a warning and you chose to ignore it. Now you will face the consequences." She paused, letting her words echo through space. "Surrender now and you will be treated with honor. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to respond." On the Resolve, Captain Park watched the fleet arrive with quiet satisfaction. His crew stared at the sensors with amazement. 400 warships, each one bristling with weapons, each one crewed by humans who had come to rescue their people. "They came," whispered. "They really came." Park nodded. "Earth always comes. They are about to learn the most important lesson in the galaxy. Never harm a human, because when you hurt one of us, you have hurt all of us, and all of us will come to make it right." The 5 minutes passed in silence. Admiral did not surrender. Admiral nodded slowly. "Very well, all ships begin attack. No mercy, no retreat. Bring our people home." The human fleet surged forward. The Battle of 442B had begun. The battle began with fire and silence. In space, there was no sound, only the flash of weapons and the death of ships. The human fleet moved forward like a wave crashing against rocks, and the fleet scrambled to meet them. Admiral screamed orders from his command throne. "All ships, defensive formation, target their lead vessels, destroy them before they can reach orbit." His fleet obeyed, turning their weapons toward the approaching humans. Beams of energy lanced out across the void, striking the first wave of human ships. Shields flickered. Hulls buckled. Some ships died in the opening seconds, their crews lost to the cold emptiness. But the humans did not stop. They pushed forward through the fire, returning shot for shot. Their weapons were different from this, using projectiles instead of energy beams. Massive slugs of metal accelerated to incredible speeds, punching through armor like needles through cloth. Captain Park led the Resolve into the heart of the battle. His ship was small, but it had been watching them for days. He knew their patterns. He knew their weaknesses. He called out, "Transmit the tactical data to all fleet commanders. Show them where to hit." Lieutenant Commander worked quickly, sending the information she had gathered. Formation gaps, shield frequencies, command ship locations. Every secret they had revealed during their time at 442B was now a weapon in human hands. The effect was immediate. Human ships began targeting specific points in the formation, breaking their lines and isolating their vessels. Captains found themselves surrounded and outmaneuvered, their communications jammed and their support ships destroyed. "How are they doing this?" Admiral demanded. "How do they know our tactics?" Commander checked his sensors with growing horror. "Admiral, the human scout ship, the one that delivered the warning, it has been following us since we left home space. It watched everything we did. It learned everything about us." His eyes went wide. He finally understood. The single ship had never been a bluff. It had been a trap. The humans had wanted him to pass by it. They had wanted him to attack the colony, because it gave them the perfect opportunity to study his fleet and prepare for this moment. "That is why they sent one ship," he whispered. "One ship to watch, one ship to learn, and then they sent the rest to destroy." On the colony surface, Governor Shin watched the battle through satellite feeds. Explosions lit up the sky like fireworks. Ships fell from orbit, trailing flames as they burned through the atmosphere. She held her breath as human vessels took hits, praying for their survival. Chief Engineer stood beside her. "The shield is still holding at 40%, but if debris keeps falling, we will have problems." "Keep it running as long as you can," Shin said. "Our people are fighting for us up there. The least we can do is survive until they win." In the space above, Pilot Officer Li Min led her squadron toward the prison ship. She was a young woman with quick reflexes and a fierce heart. Her orders were simple: rescue the captured humans, no matter the cost. "Squadron, follow my lead," she called through her communicator. "We hit the tractor beam generators first, then we disable their engines. No one fires on the main hull. Our people are inside." Her fighters dove toward the massive vessel, weaving between enemy fire. Two of her pilots were hit in the first pass, their ships spiraling away in flames. But the others pushed on, their weapons tearing into the prison ship systems. The tractor beams died. The engines sputtered and failed. The prison ship drifted helplessly as human boarding craft approached. Inside the ship, the captured colonists heard explosions and felt the vessel shake. They huddled together in their cells, not knowing if rescue or death was coming. Then the doors blew open, and human soldiers rushed in. "Coalition forces," the lead soldier shouted. "Everyone stay calm, we are getting you out of here." The prisoners cried with relief. Families embraced each other. Children who had been terrified for days finally allowed themselves to smile. One by one, they were led to the boarding craft and carried to safety. In the center of the battle, the Resolve found Admiral's flagship. It was the largest ship in the fleet, a massive vessel covered with weapons and armor. Captain Park stared at it on his screen. "That is the command ship," he said. "If we take it down, the fleet loses its coordination." Weapons officer hand-checked his readings. "Sir, we do not have the firepower to destroy that ship alone." "We do not need to destroy it, we just need to hurt it." Park turned to, "Find me a weak point, somewhere we can cause maximum damage with minimum force." Scanned the flagship with every sensor she had. Then her eyes lit up. "There, the communication array. It is protected, but if we hit it at the right angle, we can blind their command and control." Park nodded. "Do it." The Resolve surged forward, dodging fire from escort ships. It was a small vessel, hard to hit, and Park's crew knew every trick to keep them alive. They weaved through the battle until they were in range of the flagship. "Fire," Park ordered. Every weapon on the Resolve spoke at once. Projectiles slammed into the communication array, tearing it apart in a shower of metal and sparks. The flagship's lights flickered. Its movements became confused. Across the fleet, ships began losing contact with their admiral. Slammed his clawed fist against his throne. "Get communications back. I need to command my fleet." "We are trying, Admiral," an officer shouted. "But the damage is too severe. It will take hours to repair." Without coordination, the fleet fell apart. Ships that had fought as a single unit now acted alone, making mistakes and leaving themselves open to attack. The humans pressed their advantage ruthlessly. Commander watched the destruction with hollow eyes. He knew the battle was lost. More importantly, he knew the war was lost. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. He walked toward Admiral. "Admiral, we must surrender. If we continue fighting, we will be destroyed." Turned on him with fury in his eyes. "Surrender to these creatures? Never." "Admiral, please, our fleet is dying. Our people are dying. We can save those who remain if we—" Moved faster than expected. His clawed hand struck out, catching the commander across the throat, fell to the deck, gasping for breath. "Coward," spat. "I will not surrender to beings I considered beneath my notice. I will not give them that satisfaction." He turned back to watching his fleet burn. His officers stared at its body with horror, but none dared to speak. Outside, Admiral's voice echoed across all frequencies. "Vessels, your fleet is defeated. Your flagship has lost communications. Your admiral cannot help you. Surrender now and you will be treated with honor. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was cold. "You were offered peace. You chose war. You were offered mercy. You showed none. Now the choice is simple: lay down your weapons and live, or keep fighting and die. The decision is yours. You have 10 minutes. One by one, ships began to power down their weapons. Their captains understood what did not. The war was over. The humans had won. Only the flagship continued to fight, its weapons firing wildly at any target in range. Admiral refused to accept defeat, even as his ship burned around him. Captain Park watched from the resolve. "He will not surrender," he said quietly. "Some beings would rather die than admit they were wrong." "Should we destroy the flagship?" Han asked. Park shook his head. Let Admiral decide. This is her victory, and our people are almost home." Below on 442B, the first rescue shuttles began landing. The colonists emerged from their bunkers, blinking in the sunlight, looking up at a sky that was finally free of enemies. Governor Shin stood among them, tears streaming down her face. They had survived. They had held on, and Earth had come for them just as she had promised. 6 months had passed since the Battle of 442B. The Dominion, once proud and powerful, was now broken. Their fleet was scattered. Their government had collapsed. Their people were learning a lesson they would never forget. A new leader had risen from the chaos. Her name was, and she was nothing like the old admirals and generals who had led the Dominion before. She was young, wise, and she understood something important. The only way forward was peace. The great hall of the had been prepared for the peace ceremony. Crystal columns rose toward a ceiling painted with ancient victories. Once, those paintings had shown ships conquering weaker species. Now, they seemed like reminders of a shameful past. Ambassador Moon Hayone of Earth entered the hall with her delegation. She was a woman of middle age with calm eyes and a quiet voice, but those who knew her understood that she was as strong as any soldier. She had negotiated with dictators and criminals. She had walked through war zones without fear, and today she carried something special. In her hand was a small device. On that device was the original warning message from Captain Park Ho, the words that the had laughed at, the words they had ignored, the words that had sealed their fate. Premier rose from her seat as the humans approached. She bowed her head in a gesture of respect that no leader had ever shown to another species. "Ambassador Moon," she said, "on behalf of the people I welcome you, and on behalf of our people I offer our deepest apologies for the suffering we have caused." Moon nodded gracefully. "Premier, I accept your apology, and I bring greetings from the United Earth Coalition. We are here to build peace, not to demand revenge." The two delegations sat across from each other. The negotiations began, and they lasted for many hours. Reparations were discussed. Prisoner exchanges were arranged. Borders were drawn. Trade agreements were proposed. But near the end, Premier asked a question that had troubled her for months. "Ambassador Moon, may I ask you something? Something that has confused me since this war began." Moon nodded, "Of course." Leaned forward, her eyes searching for understanding. "When your Captain Park came to our space, he brought only one ship, one small vessel against our fleet of 200. At the time, we thought it was a sign of weakness, a bluff, a desperate attempt to scare us." She paused. "But now I know you had hundreds of ships. Why did you send only one? Why did you not show your strength from the beginning?" Moon was silent for a moment. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out the device containing Park's original message. She placed it on the table between them. "Because we did not want war," she said simply. "We never want war. That single ship was not a sign of weakness. It was an opportunity, a chance for your people to choose peace, a test of your character." Stared at the device. "A test?" "Yes. Humanity learned long ago that strength alone does not make a civilization great. What matters is how you use that strength. Do you attack the weak? Do you ignore warnings? Do you dismiss those who offer you a different path?" Moon shook her head. "Or do you listen? Do you consider? Do you choose peace when peace is offered?" The hall fell silent. Every present understood the weight of those words. Captain Park gave you that choice, Moon continued. He stood alone before your fleet and offered peace. He watched as you passed him by. He recorded every moment as you attacked our colony. He witnessed your cruelty. And then he called Earth, and Earth responded. She pushed the device toward. Keep this. Play it for your children. Let them hear the warning that was dismissed. Let them understand what happens when a species chooses war over peace, not as a threat but as a lesson, so that your people never make this mistake again. Took the device with trembling hands. We will remember, she whispered. I promise you we will remember. The ceremony concluded with the signing of the peace treaty, and human representatives marked the document, creating a new alliance that would last for generations. The Dominion agreed to reparations, to free all prisoners, and to work alongside humanity as partners instead of enemies. Captain Park was present for the signing. He stood in the back of the hall, wearing his dress uniform, watching quietly. Governor Shin was there too, along with Doctor and Chief Engineer. The survivors of 442B had been invited as honored guests, witnesses to the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. After the ceremony, Premier approached Captain Park. She studied his face for a long moment before speaking. You are the one who delivered the warning, she said. Park nodded. I am. I have studied the recordings. You did not show fear, not once. Even when 200 of our ships passed by you, ready to destroy you in an instant, you stood your ground, tilted her head. How could you be so calm? Park considered the question. Because I knew what I was doing was right. I was giving your people a chance to be better than you had been. I hoped you would take that chance. I truly did. But we did not. No, you did not. Park's eyes held no anger, only sadness. And that is a tragedy, not just for my people who died, but for yours as well. You could have been our friends, our allies. Instead, you chose to be our enemies. And now your fleet is destroyed, your government is fallen, and your people carry shame that will last for generations. Lowered her head. We were fools. Yes, Park agreed gently. But you do not have to remain fools. You can learn. You can grow. You can become the people you should have been all along. That is why we offer peace instead of destruction, because we believe in second chances. Later that evening, Lieutenant Commander found Captain Park on a balcony overlooking the capital. The alien city stretched below them, a strange mix of ancient architecture and modern technology. Once, it had been the heart of a vast empire. Now, it was the beginning of something new. You look thoughtful, sir, said, standing beside him. Park smiled slightly. I was thinking about the future, about what comes next. The war is over, the treaty is signed. What else is there? Everything. Park turned to face her. I am retiring. I have served for 30 years and I think I have done enough. But you are young. You have decades ahead of you. Command of the Vigilance is yours if you want it. Stared at him in shock. Sir, I am not ready for command. You are more ready than you know. You kept us alive during the worst days of the war. You found the weaknesses in the fleet. You helped win a battle that should have been impossible. He put a hand on her shoulder. I trust you, Hana, and so does Earth. Tears formed in his eyes, but she blinked them away. I will try to be worthy of that trust. You already are. The final scene of the day took place in the Galactic Assembly, where representatives of 12 different species had gathered to watch the peace ceremony. They had seen the war unfold from a distance, watching with curiosity and fear as humanity revealed its true strength. Ambassador Moon addressed them from the main stage. Her voice was calm and clear, reaching every corner of the vast chamber. Today, thee and humanity have signed a treaty of peace. This war is over, but I want every species in this chamber to understand something important about how humanity handles conflict. She paused, looking at each delegation in turn. We sent one ship to warn one small vessel, alone and vulnerable, carrying a message of peace. They could have listened. They chose not to, and so they face the consequences. Moon clasped her hands behind her back. Earth sends one ship first. One ship means we still hope for peace. It means we are offering you a choice. We are asking you to be reasonable. We are giving you a chance to prove that war is not necessary. Her voice hardened. But if you see two ships, we have already chosen war. It means diplomacy has failed and we are preparing to fight. And if you see our fleet, she let the words hang in the air. If you see our fleet, then you have made the choice for us, and we will respond accordingly. The assembly hall was completely silent. Every representative understood the message. Humanity was not aggressive. Humanity preferred peace. But humanity was also ready for war. And those who ignored their warnings would learn a lesson they would never forget. Moon smiled softly, breaking the tension. We do not want enemies. We want friends. We want trading partners and allies and companions on the long journey through the stars. The choice is always yours. We hope you choose wisely. She bowed her head and stepped back from the podium. The assembly erupted in murmured conversation as species discussed what they had heard. Far away in Earth orbit, the HSS Vigilance prepared for its first mission under Captain Hana. She stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars, thinking about everything she had learned. One ship, that was where it always began. One ship carrying hope and offering peace. Most species would accept that offer. They would become friends and allies. But some would not. Some would dismiss the warning. Some would laugh and turn away. And those species would learn, as they had learned, that humanity's mercy was a gift that should never be refused. The Vigilance jumped to faster-than-light speed, disappearing into the darkness. Another warning to deliver, another chance for peace. The galaxy was vast, and humanity was just getting started.